Hey dudes, and welcome. This is a extra special little episode of not redraw, but might as well be, to be honest. So I wasn't expecting to make a video like this, and that's mainly because Capcom announced a new Mega Man game, and they also have a challenge or a contest, I should say, open to the public to make a brand new Robot Master. And this was quite the coincidence to happen because I was already going through my own Robot Master lineup, and then all of a sudden that hits, and I'm like, oh crap, well, I guess I have to participate now. so, so it kind of felt almost like an obligation. So that's where we're at. That's how we got here. So I wanted to basically just describe what the contest is and where I ended up taking it in my direction in terms of the details that were given. So basically, it's a contest for, if you're unfamiliar, it is a contest for one Robot Master design. The others are, I guess, taken care of. But they want somebody from the public to design one Robot Master, and as you can see, in the top corner, I have a template, and that is a template that they provided. And basically, you have to follow the rules of the template. They wanted to have a design that had the features of a suction arm. So that's pretty much the foundation for the design. It's not a design whatever you want. It's I mean, it is kind of a design whatever you want, but it's a design based off of this template that we gave you. So that was pretty much it. Yeah, from there you can just kind of go from there and create your design. You also don't have to be a very good artist, apparently. They just want a good idea. They want an idea that would be interesting, which is great, honestly. I think that makes it so anybody can participate. They don't feel like they have to be very exceptional at art. It's a contest open to all skill levels, and I think that's wonderful and very makes it very accessible to people, and encourages people to get creative, and I'll always support that. So good on them for that. I'll give them a pat on the back. So yeah, that is the basis for what they wanted. So anyway, on to the design that I drew and am currently drawing. So I'm not going to name the guy just yet, and I'm keeping it a little bit of a mystery. It's not that big of a deal, especially because he's got to be some kind of suction-based robot, so you could probably take some wild guesses, but I kind of struggled a little bit going in. I actually thought I wouldn't have as bad of a time. I didn't have a bad time, but I didn't think I would have as bad of a time, or as hard of a time, I should say, creating this guy. But I think, weirdly enough, the pressure of creating something that could potentially be an official design was what kind of got me. So the drawing session for this ended up taking a lot longer than the ones I've done for my little series. And I just ended up doing so many passes of this guy. But anyway, on to the guy himself. So my initial idea was actually to repurpose one of the old drawings that I've done for this challenge, because he would have fit the bill. I won't say who he is, because I do plan on redrawing him in the future. He is one of the 30 Robot Masters that I drew when I was a kid, so I'm saving him. But I was tempted to redraw him for the purpose of this contest. and kind of kill two birds with one stone. But I ended up deciding against that because I thought it would be a little more interesting to come up with something more fresh and original instead of kind of repurposing something I had already drawn. And to be honest, I think the design itself, I could have come up with something more creative, and I think I did. So I'm glad I went with the direction of going wholly original with this in the end, and I think it was really a better choice overall, especially compared to some of the other uh, submissions I've seen so far. Which I mean, I thought I ended up being pretty proud of this piece for the most part. There's some concessions that I have, but I've seen some really wacky and creative designs, and it almost makes me feel like mine's a little bit blasé, but I digress. I'm getting off track. When I was brainstorming for this guy, I was actually having quite a hard time figuring out how I would theme this guy around the template and the overall power. It was actually a lot harder than I thought it would be to come up with a unique idea, but I eventually, yeah, I was thinking about devices and which is, I know it's a weird statement to say, but I was thinking about devices, and basically that kind of led me to think of air pressurized devices, and that ended up circling into a thought about pneumatic devices, like pneumatic tubes, things that were designed and function largely through intense air pressure. And so that was ended up being the initial inspiration that I went off of. So I probably already spoiled the name of the guy at this point, but it's okay, we'll run with it. I went through some passes, as you can probably see, trying to figure out how complex I wanted to make this guy. I knew after deciding on the theme, which would be pressurized pneumatic tubes, that I wanted him to have tubes all around his body in some way. And at first, I kind of added like a bunch more. But I really kind of wanted to reel myself in and just make this guy a little more, I guess, look a little more practical in a sense, and kind of really put function into his design. I don't know whether or not that was successful, but I am more pleased with the results than I think I would have been initially if I just went really crazy with it. So I thought, pressurized tubes, pneumatic tubes, they're usually clear. So I thought it would be interesting to basically make this guy comprised of wholly transparent pneumatic tubes. And basically, materials would be sucked and passed through him, and you would be able to see that through his arms. His arms and legs are transparent. They have through the transparency, you can see holes where they would pass through his body, whatever materials would pass through his body, and his torso area as well is transparent. So that was kind of the, I guess, unique blend that I tried to put on this design, because I don't think that's something that really exists in this franchise for a Robot Master. So I was like, that could be cool. So I kind of rolled with that, and I thought it would be visually a very, or I think it would be. I mean, maybe somebody else came up with this idea too, but I thought it would be a cool, unique take on the typical Robot Master design, to be able to actually see the insides and how this guy's power would function internally. So that was kind of what I really emphasized. And eventually, obviously, that went to the suction arm, which does have the bubble tube from the template inside of it, but I kind of like that, so I decided to keep that and just have a pneumatic, flimsy tube surrounding it. So yeah, basically, what ended up happening with this guy is that he uses obviously the suction tube to suck in materials, but also he can do it through his other limbs too, as his other limbs are pneumatic devices that are controlled through pressure, pressurized air. Sorry. That's pretty much his gimmick. He can suck in materials, and basically what he does with them is he can convert them into capsules, which he uses to attack. So that's pretty much what he does in the grand scheme of things. So he converts these materials into capsules based on their properties, and he can use those capsules to basically attack. They basically become like, I guess, bombs or some kind of throwable explosive. And they could be either, you know, like a gas bomb or something, or like some kind of electrical explosion, fire, ice, whatever. I kind of wanted to include all the types of elements. And I thought it would be cool. And then, like, you know, maybe during the fight, you could see which capsule is being created. They kind of form in his chest, and they get stored throughout his limbs. And then whenever one is ready, they get dispensed into his left hand, which he uses to throw. So that was kind of the direction I went with. I don't know how well that comes across in the design. He's a very weird looking guy, but I kind of wanted him to be that way. Even if he looks like a little silly, I'd rather him that. I'd rather him look very silly than just not stand out at all. And even then, I still feel like other people may, from what I've seen of this challenge, other submissions have done a better job than I have, for sure. But anyway, I just kind of rolled with that, and yeah. So, the original purpose of this guy was that I figured, you know, pneumatic tubes, that kind of stuff, that was a design and a structure that was used a lot in the past. I think in, like, you know, the 50s or 40s, that kind of thing. I'm not so great with my history. But I was doing some research, and I figured it would be most appropriate to give this guy the background of working in, or being built in the medical field. And basically what he does is he works as like a walking pneumatic tube. uh, I don't know if that's kind of practical, but I thought it would be interesting. He kind of like is a walking sentient pneumatic tube, and uses his appendages to, I guess, sort of hook himself up to actual pneumatic tubes and transfer like medical supplies and samples and all that. And maybe he could, you know, with the capsules and stuff like that, he could be used to create like medicine and stuff like that. I'm actually just kind of thinking of that on the spot now. So you can maybe be a sentient device that is used to convert samples or something medical related and maybe experiment with vaccines or remedies and stuff like that, or even like be some kind of mass producer for those kinds of things that are fully tested. I think that could be an interesting direction and a little bit different, as opposed to just making a vacuum man, which I feel like is the, at least for me, that was like when I saw the challenge and the requirements and details for the challenge, I thought, oh, suction arm vacuum man, clearly. But I wanted to really try to break away from that. So we have this guy, and I definitely struggled a lot on the line work process. As I said before, I went through several different passes until finally getting to the final line work. And I originally drew him to be a little more different than the drawings that I had done for my redraw series. But then I ended up kind of just caving in and thought, well, I was kind of in that groove anyway, so let me just make him in that style too. Why not? And he's like kind of an honorary member now, completely unexpected. So, the one thing I will say about this drawing is that the colors I was pretty confident on early on. I definitely, obviously, I wanted some kind of light blue teal to represent the tubes. And I also thought, like, medically, I wanted to, for some reason, green and yellow came to mind. And I thought, like, green, that sort of teal, it reminded me of, like, scrubs that nurses and some doctors, I guess, would wear. And I guess the yellow would kind of also indicate, like, caution. Something like that. Like, this is an important robot. He does important things, so don't bother him. So yeah, I just kind of ran with that, and I think it all turned out pretty well. The gray for the tops of the tubes that kind of bookend them was something I just took from actual pneumatic tubes that I, was looking at online, and obviously I took inspiration from their designs, the way they look, and tried to emulate that and translate that into what could be considered a Robot Master design as much as possible. And I think it looks okay for the most part. So, yeah. I almost wanted to make his face a transparent pneumatic tube, but I kind of shied away from it after toying around with it at first, just because I feel like it would look a little too unclear. It wouldn't translate very well, and from what it was looking like from the very short attempt that I tried it, it just didn't, it wasn't really working out. Like, I thought, like, maybe having his eyes like slightly translucent, like, I don't know, I feel like it would make his face kind of less recognizable, and everything would look like a bit of a jumbled mess. So from that point on, I just decided let me put tubes in his on his face and his ears instead, and have them hook up to his back. And I was definitely tempted to put more tubes around his torso area as well, but I just thought, let me not get crazy with it, and I just decided to keep it like that. And I was originally going to have him with that with this drawing sort of be sucking out some kind of materials, but I thought, what would he be doing? Like, I was just kind of drawing rocks and kind of papers and weird material, and I thought it just kind of cluttered the design a little bit, so I ended up mixing those. What I probably should have done is done a proper character design sheet first with him in a neutral pose, and then drawn the, I guess, character art, which is, I believe, how they actually do it with character design. I kind of went backwards. And I think me doing that made this process a little more challenging than it probably needed to be, but it is what it is. I kind of get carried away and a little too excited when it comes to making new characters, especially for something like this where I had I wouldn't have even thought that there would be a new Robot Master challenge that would be brought back. For those in the unaware, back in the day when Mega Man games were regularly being pumped out, there would be design contests for each game where people would submit their own designs and to Capcom, and they would select a few. I think they used to do, I don't know if they would do like for the full roster or like half the roster, definitely more than one, but they for every game for a while they would have this contest, and they would pick submissions from the general public, and what they would do is they would refine them and make them fit in the style of the game that they were making. So a lot of, if you play the older Mega Man games, like on the NES, a lot of those designs are fan-made, which is really cool. Well, or at least I should say they were initially fan-made and then repurposed to fit in the style of said game. But it's still fan-made nonetheless. And I believe in Mega Man 6, they actually brought that challenge to the West, and a couple of designs got into the game from North America, which is really cool. Like I said, I had no idea. I wouldn't have even dreamt of this challenge ever being brought back, but I'm really happy it did. And it was insane timing for the stuff I was doing. I wasn't expecting a new game announcement. I wasn't expecting this challenge or contest to be held at all. It was just purely coincidence, and I thought there must be some kind of reason that this happened when it did. Like, I feel like I'd be passing up such a fun opportunity if I didn't capitalize this with what I was doing right now. So I'm happy it happened. I will say, I always say that. I will say. Sorry. Truth be told, I think with the challenges that I had with this drawing, it did kind of burn me out a little bit on the Robot Master design challenge. I mean, I was already 8 designs deep by the time this got announced, and there was a deadline to it too. By the time you see this video, the deadline will be over, unfortunately. But I did submit the design beforehand. You have to do it on Twitter, which I don't use, so I had to revive my Twitter account in order to submit it. But anyways, I got a little burnt out by this, so I'm gonna take a break from Mega Man stuff for a little while, and I mean, I was planning to do that from the start. I was gonna plan on taking a break after a certain amount of drawings and videos, just because I want to balance this with original stuff. I don't want to neglect my original projects too much or too long. I think it's good to keep the variety going, and not to stick with one thing for too long because it gets kind of stale and boring after a while. So I want to kind of nip that in the bud before I start to find this becoming a chore. Not that I ever did, but I don't. I think it'll be better for me to come back to this challenge refreshed and doing. It'll be good for doing a whole new set of Robot Masters. So that is pretty much my spiel for for that. Anyway, I guess I should finally introduce you to this lovely little man who I am calling Numa Man. And Numa Man, Numa Man, obviously comes from pneumatic tubes and pneumatic devices. I believe it's also a Greek word that means like wind spirit or something like that. I didn't end up going in that direction. I ended up going with the like more grounded direction. um, but I think overall this was a really good exercise, and I'm really happy I did it. I think that overall I'm pretty happy with this guy. I think there are some changes I would make with him. He's not perfect. I think if I had to do it over, I'd probably spend less time with so many passes and just kind of trust myself a little more with the process, but that's neither here nor there. And yeah, I think this is definitely one of the most unique designs I've done so far, I think, and I like it overall. I also have here um, I did a full character sheet for this guy, so some little blurbs describing what he is, what he does, and all that. But lastly, I'll sign off by saying that this was a really fun challenge. I'm glad it existed. I don't really expect to win, just kind of did this for funsies. I think there are designs out there that I've seen that are even way cooler and definitely deserve the spotlight and to be seen. And overall, I'm just really happy this challenge exists for people to get creative, and I'll always support that. I said that before, but I'll always support that. That stuff always makes me excited, and always makes me excited to see other people's interpretations. So, but anyway, again, I'll just finish off by saying, yeah, this was the last Mega Man related thing for a while. The next stuff you'll see for the near future will be original animation stuff for my original animation that I've been working on for a while. So if you have any slight interest in that, check out the little shorts that I've been posting. Nothing crazy to them, just little blurbs about my animation process. I think it's nice and good for me to show and share each step of the way with that, because animation takes a long time, but I'll stop shilling myself. See you in the next one. I don't know when the next time you're going to hear my voice is, but thank you for watching and joining me on this little random journey of mine. I'll catch you in the next one. Anyway, bye.